My ultimate goal with these internet leads is...
So the big question is, what are top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? To get the answers, we interview the top real estate agents to learn their secrets to success. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Elite Agent Secrets show. Today we've got Caitlin Beck with us. Now she has 5 agents with her, an admin, and last year, most importantly, did $30 million in production. Today she's going to be unpacking for us, working in net leads, leaning into leverage, and coming from a place of contribution. It's going to be some fire information for you listeners out there. Caitlin, thank you for agreeing to come on the show. How are you doing?
Thank you both so much for having me. I'm really excited. I'm doing really fabulous. It's a great Tuesday here in Philadelphia, so I'm ready.
Dude, I love this. I'm super excited for this one. We got a Philly girl in the house and a lady producer. Small world, right? But before we unpack your 30 million in production in 2021 in the beautiful city of brotherly love, take us back to day one. How did you get started in this? How did you go from a single agent to running your own team? We got talking a little bit off air. We do know a lot of the same similar people. So it's no surprise to me that you are killing it, but I think you're just getting started.
Yeah. So take us back to, how long have you been in real estate? And then take us back to a day before you got in type deal. Tell us how you got into it.
Okay. So I have been in just over 7 years now, which is crazy to me. It feels like I just started, but it's been a full 7 years. And before I was licensed, I actually worked as a red carpet reporter and a journalist in New York City. And I loved it. It was a really fun job. Yeah. Yes.
That's cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was really great. But I hated my salary. I hated it. And I hated having a boss. And so I had been doing a lot of soul searching at 22 years old and just decided that I never wanted to work for anyone else again. And I never wanted to have a limit on how much money I could make or what I could do. So I quit that job and I started interviewing at different companies because I wasn't sure where to go. And I interviewed with a local agent in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, where I'm from. And I asked her, what is one thing you hate about your job? She'd been in real estate for 20 years. And she said, I can't think of anything. And at 22, 23, I was like, good enough for me. Great. That's all I need to know. Sign me up. So I got my license within 10 days. I just went to school in person at the time, which is exciting. And 10 days later, I was licensed with KW.
Did you feel like she lied to you?
Yeah, I was going to say, the chance of you asking an agent and then being like, I fucking love it, there is no complaints, and then you being like, yeah, sign me up. I reckon you should have entered the lottery that same week, right? Because the chances are greater that you would have won, right? And finding an agent that would said, I've got no problems with this industry. Right. I fucking love this industry. I've got fucking problems with it.
You know what? It's funny. I don't have a ton of complaints about it. I mean, obviously there are days that are harder than others and maybe a difficult client or situation, but as a whole for the industry, I don't have many complaints. So I'm very thankful that she, even if it was a lie, I'm very thankful that she told me that, because I probably would have gone in a different direction and maybe would have done like event planning or PR. And because she didn't have any complaints, it really inspired me. And I was like, all right, if you don't have complaints, neither will I. I'm going to just do it and go for it. And I haven't looked back.
Well, it was her truth, right? Which is actually what this whole show is about. It's about your truth. So you joined KW, you got your license within 10 days, you jumped in both feet. Walk us through, your 7 years. How many deals did you get? Years 1, 2, and so on and so forth, and take us on a bit of a journey up to where we are now. The 30 million.
Year one was rough. I went a full, I think 5 or 6 months without doing any production. And then my first deal, which closed on Halloween of that year, was the sales price was, I think, $42,000. So not the most glamorous of starts for me. But it taught me how to work. It was a short sale. So I kind of learned in the hard way, which is nice. And then year 2, things really started to pick up. I made some really great connections with city agents. At the time, I was working on the main line, which is just right outside of Philadelphia. But a lot of those agents didn't want to go into the city, and I was happy to. So I made a lot of great connections, and really that's what kind of got my business started, was just working in the city. So I think year 2, I probably did like 3 million. And then every year it's just increased. Year 4, I started my team. So it's been a little bit of a journey. I was on 2 teams prior to having my own. But yeah, the first 2 years in real estate, when people tell you that they're hard, they're not lying to you. You have to stick it out. And then it magically one day, it just clicks. You understand, your confidence grows, and it just is easier from there, quite frankly.
Yeah, when you said 42K, the first place I thought of 7 years ago, we're talking like Germantown, right?
Yeah,
or did you sell stuff off the main line, which was more suburban area? Just so everybody gets a little bit of context, because I know the audience that's listening, they'll be like, "Oh, you're selling in the city. Obviously, there's got to be a lot of opportunity." Mm-hmm. But you started in main line, which is the equivalent of a really pretty much suburban area where there's not as much of people moving. At least at that time there wasn't, because everybody was really just trying to get into the city, which makes sense why you shifted and adapted and pivoted, right?
Yep. So that first deal, I think it was in Clifton Heights. And it's great. I've actually continued my relationship with that buyer because he flips houses. So I'm actually listing one of his next week. So he was my first client, and I think I've done probably at least a deal with him every year. And he's just great and super loyal. But yeah, not the most gorgeous house to start with. Yeah.
I want a little bit of context around volume-based deals. So I would say 30 million last year. How many deals is that? Give or take.
So our average sales price last year was, I think, 350,000.
So you're talking about 100 deals you did last year.
Yeah, I think it's like 91 or something. I have to double check. But yeah, we did we do a lot of units. We're actively working on increasing our price point as well. But we do a lot of units, and that's not by accident. We are a Sphere and past client referral based, team. So the more past clients you have, the more referrals, and the more people are going to be spreading your name through word of mouth. So it's not totally by accident that we do a lot of units.
No, the reason I ask is actually for context for the listener. It's like, I'm not saying if you were $1 million, I'm not saying 30 isn't impressive, but the reason units are important is units show systems. That's the one thing it shows, because like you could have one $30 million property. I'm not sure who you're selling it to. Jeff Bezos is in town or some fucking guy, but you can sell one, but selling 100 is hard, and it's impossible without systems. Like, it's impossible. You might get to 30 without systems, and then you are like, your head's blowing off, right? And that's why I asked specifically about the units.
Yeah. I think they say as soon as you're doing 30, you should really start to hire help at that point, because you're just going to get so maxed out and burnt out.
Yeah, every 30.
There it is. There's that magic number again. Yeah. So if you ever listen to the show, and for anybody who's just tuning in the first time, we've now had this show up at least 5, 6, or 7 times where people are like between 20 to 30, but 30 seems to be the magic number, where it's like you got to get a little bit of help, whether it's an admin, a TC, or somebody to help you process some of this stuff. So, since we're on the topic of systems, and I know that's not an official topic, what are some of the systems that you have put in place to allow you to do the 85, 90, 100 deals per year and do the $30 million in production?
Actually, no, I'm going to cut Peter off. Do you know why? I'm not going to let Caitlin answer that question. And I'll tell you why, because I think it's going to coincide with topic 2. So... Okay. I'm going to actually dive into topic 1 first.
Okay.
So listeners, you don't have to stay tuned.
This is how you know this show isn't scripted.
It should. Listen, give us feedback. Should it be scripted? No, but what I'm going to do, because I think that is the second part to the equation, because it's all well and good having systems. You ain't got fucking leads. What's the point? Right. So first secret to success, your number 1 is working internet leads. It's something we love. We wholeheartedly believe in.
Ooh, this is right near to our heart.
working
Yeah.
internet leads is your first secret to success.
It is. And, it's funny. I feel like since day one, I've been told, don't spend money on leads, don't, do internet leads. And I think there should be like a little disclaimer at the bottom of that where it's like, don't do internet leads unless you're going to actually work them and follow up with them. Because internet leads, I'm going to throw out like another magic number to you, but I think it's 2% is like the conversion rate for Zillow leads, something like
Yep.
that. So it doesn't
1
have
to
to,
3% on average, 2% right in the middle.
yeah. So it doesn't have to be that low. So my team, we do spend money on internet leads. And the first thing that I looked at when I was like, you know what, we're going to give this a try. And I'm going to use Zillow as my example, just because that's the platform that we use. In order to purchase those leads, I told my business partner, I was like, we need to be number one in that area. There's no point in doing internet leads unless you are going to own a big chunk of the zip code that you're buying in. And for me, top three wasn't good enough. I was like, no, we need to be number one, because I just like, if we're going to invest and we're going to do it, we're going all in. So we only invest in one zip code, and we split the cost with our lender. And so it's really not a ton of money. I mean, it's, $1,000 or more a month, but we definitely get that return on our investment. So working these internet leads, the first and most important thing, and any Zillow console is going to tell you this, is that you have to answer your phone. And I know that seems like very basic, but apparently it's not. It goes round robin to the whole team. There's 5 of us. Somebody's going to answer. And then knowing the right questions to ask and to not scare off these buyers, but to also make sure that you're not wasting your time either. Because again, we don't want to be running all around with buyers and people that aren't going to respect your time. So it's kind of finding that delicate balance of, yes, answering the phone, being approachable and not scaring them off, but also making sure that you're giving them enough information where they are going to treat this as like a serious process. And then once you've met with them and you set them up with your lender and all that's well and good, it's nice and easy. But the struggle isn't the phone calls. The struggle is the tour requests and the inbox messages, I guess is what we'll call them. Those are a little different. So there's a couple of ways that we work those. The first is that you have to get in touch with them right away. If somebody is sending you a message that they want to see a property, it's probably not the only property that they're clicking on and saying, find more info or tell me more info or whatever it says. They're probably doing that to a number of different properties, meaning they're going to get in touch with a bunch of different agents. So making sure that you're the first person to connect with them in some way, whether it's responding to that email or sending them a text or calling them, I don't have a preference as long as you're reaching out right away. Then if no one responds, I actually talked to my Zillow consult about this because I was like, I don't know how many times is too much. They actually suggested, and so we've now gone on to do this, that you do an 8-day blitz with them, is what they call it, where you reach out for 8 days in a row. And then if you don't hear back from them, okay, you're probably not going to. So from there, we then say they don't answer. That's where my assistant and our director of operation comes in. We don't stop communicating with them, but we start to put them on a different type of drip campaign where they're maybe not as active, and maybe we need to put our time and energy into someone else. But we certainly give it the 8 days and the 8 tries before we're like, fine, I semi give up on you for now, but I'm going to circle back with you.
I love that. I'm smiling the whole time, and I know where Andrew's going to go with this because that's exactly what we preach.
Yeah.
These people, they don't know you, they don't love you, they don't trust you. All they know is they opted in for a property or maybe something else, and now 15 agents maybe are calling them. Most of them, 99% of them will call them once, and then they're just going to
let's throw, and although I'm going to butcher this, I won't butcher this so badly that this isn't relevant, but let's throw some statistics out there. It's something like, 80-90% of people work with the first agent who they speak with, right? something like, I forget, 60, 70% of people first look for a home online now. And then it's something like 84% of agents call a lead once and only 6% call twice. Like, these are some fucking scary statistics, which tells you that you are in the best time in history. And to be fair, you will continue to be for a while, because there is a lot of ignorance around this topic, in my opinion, where it's like, if you genuinely just call the fucking leads and deliver, like, you'll get deals. It's not hard. It's just most people don't do it. Like, that's that. Like, those are, I mean, we can go look up the NAR. It's all on there, the exact like percentages, but those are roughly about right. And it just goes to show, like, I understand referrals and all this work great. The reason I like internet leads, I'm sure you do, it allows you to scale Sphere. It builds a sphere, you deliver a great experience, and then you get back end referrals. But you don't have to like try and build a sphere and get deals from them right away. Like, you can turn on leads tomorrow, and you've got leads to work and keep you busy. And like, we obviously, we run Facebook, Instagram ads, like that's our thing. Like, that's what we coach and teach on as well. And the reason we like that is you get a lot of swings. So it's like, you're not spending $1,000 for a lead. You spend, say, $20 these days. So it's like, okay, you spend $500. You get a lot of tries to like fuck it up. And that's not a bad thing when you're starting. It's really not a bad thing. What you don't want to do is spend $1,000 on a lead. Oh my God, the stress of like, if I fuck this, so it's $1,000. That's a lot to cope with. So, you know, having a lot of practices is also an important thing. Like, this is like anything, it's a skill. Working on, I think a reason a lot of agents struggle with online leads, if we're transparent, is that they don't know how to work them, because you don't work them like a referral. Like, and I think this is one of the big things. It's like, I think a lot of people have too much pride to admit that they just don't know how to work that type of lead, because they should, right? And the reality, they should know how to work them, but they don't. And so, like, I'm going to stick to referrals.
So Caitlin, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I have a question for you, because one of the important things that you said is finding the right balance between scaring them off and qualifying them to make sure that they're actually, you know, viable, ready, willing, and able. They're going to be serious about getting a pre-approval going, right? So what are some of the questions that you're asking? What does your conversation look like when you actually do get somebody on the phone? And talk us through, you know, maybe how even long those conversations are before you know what you need to know to show them the property.
So I think it actually starts with, I know this is topic 3, but it's coming from contribution. When you're looking at these Zillow leads, there are people that are raising their hand and saying, I need help. Like, that's truthfully like what it boils down to. They want to buy a house or have some sort of interest in it and don't know where to start. So I take my method, and, you know, this is probably, my girls are probably so sick of me talking about this, but I like to teach people how to buy a house. And I think that's what scares these internet leads a little bit, is that they're scared that right away you're going to be like, all right, well, I need to see your finances before I do anything. And I need to see your bank statements. Like, I had one girl this morning, I was on with her, and she was like, well, do you need a copy, like an up-to-date bank statement from me, like from this morning? I was like, no, I don't want your bank account information. Like, I think there's like this misconception that we need to see things like that. So for me, I'm scaling it back. Like, I want to know about their wants and needs. And when I'm asking them questions, I'm starting with that, where I want to know what it is about this house that they like. Obviously, at this point, I've asked them, you know, when they want to go see it. I've done the normal questions, but I want to get a step deeper, because my ultimate goal with these internet leads is to set them up on the client portal through our MLS. That's how I kind of get like the signal of, all right, they're willing to work with just me. They're going to take this seriously and they're going to trust me. So once I'm done asking them, like, when are you free to see this property? Do you live in the area currently? Things like that, I'm immediately saying, do you have a couple minutes for me to set you up on our personalized client portal? Because the market is moving so fast, this is really the best way to stay up to date with our current inventory. If they say yes.
Ooh, I love that line.
Thanks. So if they say yes, then I'm kind of like, okay, great. Not only are they serious, but they're also serious about trusting me to be their agent, because they're now going to get a bunch of emails from me. And then when you're putting these people into your MLS and your database, one of the questions is, how much do you want to spend? What would you like me to have your maximum price point as? If they say they don't know and you've already asked them, like, would you like me to help you get in touch with a local lender? This is when you can hit that again and say, okay, well, in order for me to finish this, it would be really beneficial for us to make sure that we know how much you are going to be pre-approved for. I would hate to put the wrong price point in here. And that's usually like a softer way for them to be like, okay. And then you talk to them about that pre-approval process, get that intro out of the way. And then it's easy because you've already set them up with the search. You've already set up a time to meet with them, and you've set them up with a mortgage person. So you're coming from contribution because you're teaching them the right steps in order to make this process as seamless and easy as possible.
Do you ever three-way in the lender while you have them on the phone? Or do you just give them the link? How do you go about that?
I actually do email intros. So I have 2 lenders that I absolutely love. The first one I partner with on Zillow. So he always is going to get, anyone that's through Zillow.
Yeah.
So I send them to him, and then he prefers to do a link to his client, to his portal, so they can put in their own documents. And then if they ask for a second person, I do the email intro that way as well. That way they have each other's phone numbers and emails. So if they don't answer the email, it's then on the lender as well to kind of follow up and also have their phone number and make sure that this gets done in a timely manner.
I love the cohesive teamwork, right? Because everybody kind of gets plugged in at the same time. And that's exactly very similar to what we do on our team, right? We ask them the soft questions, aka we want to give them the information that they're looking for. So it's a little bit of a give and take. Mm-hmm. Then we start qualifying them indirectly about, where do you think as far as your budget and your price point, where would you like to be? And typically we know that if they say, I like to be in the $400,000 price range, by the way they speak, the way they communicate, you can kind of gauge the level of, okay, are we going to be above, below? Are they more conservative? Are they more aggressive? Do they have reasonable expectations or totally unreasonable expectations? And it's like that one step at a time, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to just like full force driving them through, you need a pre-approval, I'm not showing you anything type of gig.
Right. And I definitely advocate for having that pre-approval before you show anyone anything. I wholeheartedly believe in that because I don't want anyone to waste their time. But I do think there's a delicate way to kind of get everything you need and not hound everyone, not scare them, but just teach them. Like it's not, you always want to remember that you are coming from contribution and your contribution is education.
This is huge, Jim. If you haven't, when you talk about educating people and this kind of misinformation they've got, if you don't, you should have a YouTube channel and stuff like that, because a lot of people share. This is how people there's people inside of our team organization that made $1 million in their first year, and they did it all through YouTube. And a big part of their channel is educating their market about buying properties in their market. And their biggest ahas were like, it's unreal how little people know about buying a house. Like it is unreal. And like we do YouTube as well. And it's like, it's just people see you as an authority because you don't realize how much you know. And the problem is with being agents and knowing this market so well is we completely take for granted how much we know. Like 100 every day, we just do stuff like automatically that other people have no fucking clue about because it's just what we have to do. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in gaining access to our courses and coaching 100% free, then head over to go.eliteagentsecrets.com.